From all of the NPCs and infecteds we encounter in examination, they're all pretty straightforward. But if you've been playing for a bit, you start to wonder about a specific character. The one guy that seems to be always lurking in the shadows like Batman. Quite possibly the most mysterious character in the game. There's not really a background on him other than he's just a scrapped character from a previous game project. The only information we have on him is when we first see him at the infamous window scene. Now, a few things to note here is the guy in the window doesn't seem to know what's going on at all. Every time you load into a game, he's not struggling to open the door, he's always just looking around confused. I would imagine he would be trying to buzz down the door that we can open later on to inspect the scene. And in the wiki it says that the name of the guy who dies to dzero is a mockery of him since it sounds like Adam dies. So it seems like dzero is torturing a random private by bringing him back to the same scenario over and over again. Why do I think that's the case? Because there are more demonstrations of his weird abilities. From spawn, if you go forward to the showers, there'll be two things you can observe. The Night Stalker challenge and the you are dragged into a nightmare scenario where you're running from D-Money, and the only way to escape is to get a blue keycard to access the area with the red keycard, and then you use it to get out, and you get the temporal anomaly badge. But the thing is, in the badge description, it says travel to an unknown dimension. Now that implies this motherfucker is interdimensional. He creates his own reality that he brings you into, and that would make him extremely overpowered. This would make the next example make more sense, since in Yuri's challenge, which is the Night Stalker pistol, he shows up as the final boss when he gets to 250 kills. And he doesn't show up normally in the facility, he instead takes over the simulation and brings you into an unknown part of the environment. From Yuri's dialogue, we can observe that it seems that D-Money manipulated the simulation to access an environment that's only accessible to Yuri himself. It also stresses Yuri out for some unknown reason. Maybe he's a ghost. I would say he's just a normal infected individual though, since if you can make your own dimensions, I think you can prevent your own decaying, because if we look closely at him, we can see that he's been around for a little bit. It's not his first rodeo, if you know what I mean, especially because of his missing hand and his messed up face. Oh, I'm sorry, D-Money, don't come for me in my nightmares tonight. And the only thing that can make him a ghost-like being is the entity behind the door that takes you to his dimension. And if it's on purpose, whenever dzero runs off, it's usually somewhere to like where a normal human being couldn't go anywhere, if you know what I mean. At the slice and dicing, there's no commotion of stuff falling over, but we still see later on there's stuff blocking the door. And then there's a second scene where he gets into the Sector 2 area and he runs off into a room where there's literally nowhere to go. Another thing supporting this is the fact that when you stand still for too long, your character gets paranoid and ominous music starts playing. And that is a little strange. With these little bits of evidence, I would like to propose my own theory of what he is. The entity being the weirdest part of the evidence we have probably makes you believe he's not a physical being. With the whole catastrophe with the virus itself, there's something that some Rezonians are angry about too. The government have been low, swept the virus under the rug, and let it get even worse. Now, it's understandable to try and quell panic, but it probably made the situation worse. And maybe dzero was a survivor who witnessed these events happen firsthand. And with all the anger built up against the government, I would imagine that you would make one hell of an infected type, along with the fact that you lived in the universe of examination itself. Also, with the virus, the only way someone becomes a CI, which stands for controllable infected, is when they are so overwhelmingly angry, it makes them refuse to turn completely and they retain the ability to think to a certain degree. We can see this in Gilbert with his mental issues and presumably high amounts of anger. He is somewhat of an intelligent infected. He apologizes for killing you and he even kills some of the infected for us. But the control only goes so far since he kills even his own teammates. This could be applied to dzero. I would say he was just one of the lucky survivors for a little bit, and then he got infected. With already being angry at the situation a government has put you in, that probably would have turned him into what we see today. Alright, we got the angry as fuck lucky survivor theory out of the way, but how do his abilities work? The only thing I could propose is how ghosts supposedly operate in our real-life world if you really believe in that. If you ever watched Ghost Hunters, they use EMF readers that these unknown beings talk to us through. They use energy in our physical world to throw things, talk through devices, or even outright appearing.
Flicker if you think I'm respectful, please. Okay.
Now, it is electromagnetic fields as opposed to the mountains of radiation in the facility, but I'm not no rocket scientist, am I? So I can't really explain exactly how it works, but I think he's manipulating the radiation energy in some way to make us hallucinate, because otherwise he could just imagine you dead and then you would die. That's stupid as shit. That's my best way in explaining what he is and how his powers work and where he came from. The angry survivor theory would also explain why he looks so decayed, since he would have been probably around for a while. But what do you think? Do you think he's a ghost, devil thing, or is he just a normal infected? Let me know down below, along with whatever I forgot to mention.
I hope D-Money haunts your nightmares, boy. What's wrong with you, bruh?